Hello everyone! Today I have a really cool double slider card to share with you. This was a swap that I got from a new friend, Janine, at the Stampin' Up! Mini Convention in Minneapolis a few weeks ago. It's called Onstage Local, and this is the version I came up with. You just pull your tab and double slider cards. So this was the one that Janine had given me, and she used the Share What You Love DSP that is going to retire, and some faceted dots from the one with the triple banner punch, that sweet detailed, that something delightfully detailed kind of thing, and then the black cord. And so I switched up. You actually need to have 12 by 12 paper for this, and the only 12 by 12 I had was the new ink colors, or I should say the 2018 to 2020 ink colors with Lovely Lipstick, Grapefruit Grove, Call Me Clover, Blueberry Bushel, and Pineapple Punch, those ones. So I had the in color pack of the 12 by 12, so those are the cards I made. So this one is Grapefruit Grove, and then I used some of the sequins from the, I think, this one. The Basic Adhesive Backed Sequins pack. And then I made a few other colors. I really liked this one, again with the Blueberry Bushel from the new ink colors, and then I colored with the Dark Night of Navy blend on the clear faceted gems. There isn't a Blueberry Bushel blend, but the Dark Night of Navy, when you're coloring it on the blend, it looks pretty similar, and no one's gonna know that it's not a Blueberry Bushel marker. And then I just used all the ink color ribbons that are actually carrying over these kinds of packs, the Gross Grain ribbon, and they have it in all 5 of the ink colors. And then finally I have a green one with some of our 6x6 in color DSP, and now this, the in color DSP, I think is retiring, but there should be a new pack with different designs that you could use if you wanted to replicate these exact designs after June 4th, when all those things would be retiring. Or you could come up with lots of other cool embellishments, or change up the front. Janine got this idea from Terry Pocock. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing her name right, but she's a UK demonstrator, and I will link to her blog about this and her video. I thought I'd make my own video because she did her blog, her video in centimeters, being that they're in the UK, and so I thought, well, for those of us who use inches, it might be helpful to have a video showing it and talking in inches. She did on her blog, Terry, provide it's called the imperial or inches measurements, but her video deals with the centimeters. So, and then I had a different design with different supplies and stuff, so I thought I would just show how to make my exact version. And I'm going to be working with some of the Call Me Clover again. And the first supplies you'll need for any of these cards, no matter what decorations, you'll need the classic label punch, and then the 1-inch circle punch. And then you will, if you want to make my exact card with the big happy birthday, you'll need the perennial birthday, and I'm using the happy birthday stamp down here, and I've got it mounted on here. And then depending, I don't have any embellishments on my green one yet, but depending on which design you have, you're going to change up your embellishments to fit. You can use sequins, or the faceted gems, or the clear faceted dots, or you could even use, I've got some of these epoxy frosted and clear dots, or the metallic pearls, or even just traditional rhinestones or pearls, anything to fit, whatever fits your design best. And then also a key ingredient is the tear and tape. Something that might seem a little funny, but is really important, is your sliding mechanism. And we used, Terry and then Janine and I, we used these page protectors, and you just cut down the long, maybe my hands are off camera, cut down your long side and then break apart or cut down your short side, and then you just need to trim off. I made sure that I was starting with a straight edge so that my measurement would be exact, but when I put it together I realized that you don't really see this, and as long as it's roughly, you know, the right size, you don't have to be super exact. But I liked having a nice clean, this is clear so you probably can't see this, maybe a little bit, a nice straight edges. So then your sliding piece should be 1 3/4 by 11 inches. Let me double check that. Yes, it is 1 3/4, and then I just did the whole width of this, and it's just about right, is 11 inches. In Tara's video, she had said 12, and I thought, well, my page protector is 11, so let's see if this works with 11 inches, and it does. It still works. So you've got your sliding mechanism, and then you have your large piece of cardstock that makes the base of this card, and that is 5.5 inches by 11 3/4 inches. My friend, I did this for a team meeting, and my friend and team member said that she's gonna figure out a way to make this with 8.5 by 11 paper, so she doesn't have to remember to keep 12 by 12 on stock. If she does, and if she's able to put that together, I will maybe share that for those of us who like to make what we can with what we have and not have to order specific supplies. And then we scored this. I pre-scored this because I did a little extra work for the lady so we could go quicker, and then a lady wasn't able to come, so I have an extra packet I can make with you. So you put it in your scoring tool, and you're gonna score at 3 5/8, and then 7 3/8, and then 11 1/8. And let me double check that. Yes, 3 5/8, 7 3/8, 11 1/8. And then we'll take that out of the way. We've got our scoring done. And then you have all your layering pieces, and you're going to have your front panels, which would be here. And that will be for the Whisper White piece. It is 5 1/4 by 3 1/2. And then for the DSP that layers on top for the front panel, oh yes, that's much more on camera than I realized. For the DSP then, that's just a 1/4 inch border, so 5 by 3 1/4 then. And those pieces you can layer together right now if you want, or wait till I do it when I'm in the video. And then for the 2 sliding parts that come out, you're going to be doing 2 of each of these, 1 for each sliding part. So I've got doubles of all of this. And then I've got my little sentiment banner piece on there. So for the sliding parts, you've got your larger white piece is 5 1/4 by 3 1/8. And then you've got 5 by 2 7/8. And then for your top little white piece, you have 2 1/8 by, it looks like 4 1/4, just a smidge over. And I'll post all of these. I'll do a blog on this and post these measurements again and just double check. So then, just to give you some warning, one of these panels will be completely put together normal. You can layer all 3 right on top of each other, but then you want to stop before you do the same with the other layers, and you want to just adhere these two together, because then you will be taking your ribbon, and you would need 4.5 inches of it, and you're going to be putting tear and tape down on your bottom layer, looping your ribbon on here with a good amount sticking off so that you can pull it, and then you're going to be taking off the adhesive, putting the ribbon down, putting a little bit more of the tear and tape, and then some snail, actually do it on here, snail on this one, and then sticking this down on top, and then you have your slidey thing. So you don't want to completely assemble both panels like I did the first time. You want to make sure you just assemble one panel, and then you have to put your ribbon down in between the big white layer and your DSP. So just to let you know how that all comes together. And then the last two measurements are for our banner, or our sentiment layers, I should say, and the colored cardstock is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4, and the white layer is 5 by 1 1/2. And then, just in case I forget to mention it, when I layered this together, I had my top, or my bottom two layers, you know, centered on the card with that little bit of a border, and then this one is a little different. I lined it up with the white edges, so it doesn't have, you know, it doesn't keep going in. It kind of stays the same as far as lining up with the edges. So it should be the widths of your two white layers and your green cardstock are all the same. And then, oh, I'm take that back. Of these two are the same. So there's no extra border in there. Probably a little more explanation than needed, but one of my ladies was curious about how to line it up, so I thought I'd point that out. Okay. Oh, the cat's casting a shadow. Come here, Smokes. Lift him over my camera. Okay. So, when I start, I want to have my large side panel on my left, and then, can you see the score line? The little, like, 3/4 inch tab, yeah, should be on my right. And this is kind of how you want to orient it. I found in her video, and for me working with it, it was easiest to keep things straight in my mind if I kept it like this, with the small skinny tab on my right hand side. And then this is where we're going to be putting our sliding mechanism, and that kind of I thought of as my home base, and everything in my directions I described as with the sliding with the plastic on the left, with the, yeah, so that was, that helped me to think of this is your home base with the sliding over here, and on your left. Okay, so the first, besides the scoring, the first step you want to do is take your classic label punch, and you usually punch with the punch upside down so you can see what's going on in here. And so there's two centering things that are going to happen. You're going to center the punch horizontally on the paper with the same kind of distance over here and over here. And then also, I want to make sure this is clear, I hope the green isn't too dark, you only put your punch halfway in so that the paper is right at the two meeting points, the two, what's the right word? Vertex, that's the right word from math class, the vertex of these two kind of triangles on the end. So you're only punching out, half of your punch has no paper in it, and then the other half is what's going to be cut out. Alright, and then we do turn it for a second just to make it easier to punch, and you're going to do the same thing, line it up horizontally and then also halfway in through the punch. So we have two things to think about, and you can kind of press your punch together without cutting the paper to kind of make sure and give yourself a chance to check, and then if you like what you see, you can punch and cut, and these pieces really fly. Alright, so I'm going to turn it back with my sliding part, my large end on my left, and then I'm going to take my sliding part, it has run away, and I'm going to put it under my piece here, and it's just wonderful. It fits right in there. You could probably work out a way how to cut this out, but it's just really handy to have the punch and know that they're going to be exactly the same. It saves you a lot of time. Excuse me, stretching my leg out. And then when you adhere this, you do not want it to be completely snug where it's going to be very hard to move, but you also don't want it super loose. So what Terry's tip from her video was to make it taut and then loosen it a tad bit, and you can kind of practice and see if it'll work well. And then I'm going to grab my tear and tape, and I'm going to measure on here and estimate how much I need. And I'm going to fold my top part down and put it on where, as if you let it go, would be the back. When you fold your top part forward, you put it on the part that's facing up. Okay, and then before I take this tape off, I'm going to let it go and put some tape on the bottom. And you could probably do this two ways. You could put two here, but in Terry's video, she did one here and with it folded over on the top, and then on the bottom piece, laying flat on your grid paper or work surface, she put another piece down here that is, when you fold it up, going to come slightly over the top of your top piece of tape. So, you know, you could either do it one on the top, one on the bottom, or you could do it two on the top and just stick them together. I really don't know if it matters. So then, taking off the backing, and then I'm going to try to make sure, I've done this about 4 times and I have not had it be too tight to slide. So I'm going to give myself a little slack up here on the top, just a tiny bit, and then pull this not real tight, but so I can kind of feel it against the paper, and just don't press it super hard. And tear and tape is very strong, but if you apply pressure to pull it back, you can get it to come off. So I'm just gonna try this, and you can hopefully see and hear that it's sliding, but it's not super, super tight. So I'm gonna say that that's gonna be good, and we're gonna give it a shot. And I'm gonna press this down a little bit better just to make sure it doesn't come apart. But I feel good about this. It's not scraping along the sides, but it's not flopping all around. So I think this is going to work out pretty well. Okay, so now we want to take our larger pieces, so not the triple layer. Just make sure you don't get they're kind of close, but make sure you take your larger where there's only one size, and we're going to take a snail or liquid glue and put this, and this is very important, there are 4 layers on this front, but when you're going to do your punching with your 1-inch punch, it can only cut through 2 layers of cardstock. So do not put all 4 layers on here and try to punch it. It will not work. If you forget and you do it, you can kind of cut out the circle with your paper snips, but it's a little trickier. Which reminds me, we haven't done anything wrong yet, but it does work a little bit better if we do our punching here first before we put our paper in. So sorry, I'm going to back up for a second, and I'm going to take this down here to the corner and just measure a little bit till I get my center. I'm going to take my score line and line it up with the end of the measurement on my paper where the 0 would be, and just take a little pen or pencil, and it's going to be, I have it marked on here, 1 3/4. I'm just going to double check that because on here it is 3 3/4, so it should technically be, sorry, I just want to make sure so I don't tell the wrong thing. Adhere that 1 7/8. I thought it was a little different. Okay, so here's my 1, and then right under the 2. So the first tick mark after the 2 is where it's going to be on your, or before the 2. The first tick mark before the 2 is the 1 7/8. And then I'm going to take my 1-inch circle punch, and you want to, again, just come in halfway because you just need that little half moon. And it's maybe a very basic way to do this, but I always take one finger and see, oh, yep, more space on that side. So I'm going to just move this over And getting closer, just move it a tick. And then that's looking a lot better. I hope this is on camera so that you can see this little tip. I just use my finger to measure on either side of the punch and see if the spacing is a little, it just gives you a little less space to have to gauge with your eyes rather than this whole big space. But this seems right, so I'm gonna go ahead, and it doesn't have to be perfect, they're just all gonna line up. Things just look a little nicer when they're centered. Again, I'm gonna be cleaning up all these punched pieces. There it is on my arm. Okay, so now we're ready to put our top layers on. So I've already got my snail on here, and I'm going to take my time, line up my bottom paper, and make sure this is nice and centered. With a card that has a really cool thing like the double slider, they're really not going to notice if your paper is slightly off kilter, so you can relax a little bit on that. I get very concerned about straight and lined up, and it is kind of nice to know that no one else is going to be looking as closely as you are. Okay, so then we will need to turn our paper over and adhere it on the front. And I liked how, I'm sure it would look fine on either side, but I liked how the circle was cut out and the pulling happens on the right, probably because I'm right-handed. If you have a left-handed friend, how nice would that be for them? I do have a left-handed friend. I should make one like this for her and do it on the other side so it's natural for her to pull out with her left hand. Oh, I'm happy I thought of that. She will really appreciate that thought. Okay, so I'm already done it on this side, so we're going to stick with that. But, so I want to make sure that my sliding part is on the top now, and my circle is on the right if you're going to make this for a right-handed person. And then don't be alarmed, this will hang over the circle, but we will flip it over and then punch out this part, as I was alluding to before. So it looks like you've done something wrong, but you really haven't. You just take the stop here before you adhere your top two layers, or it will be too thick, and you want to flip it over and punch this again, fly again. And now this one will stick because you've got a little adhesive possibly sticking out on that. Now we can do our stamping. There we go, I found my layers, they were hidden. And I'm going to pull out my Call Me Clover. And I'm just going to stick with monochrome. I like all one color, really highlights. You could make this if you've got the 12 by 12 and the retiring ink colors. You could make that before they go out of style, not really, but before they're retired. You could be doing this with your retiring ink colors too and have some fun with them before they're no longer available. I've got my punch already on there, and this is the clear mount, and so the stickers just don't stick super well, so I don't mount them. But if you haven't bought any of the new cling, which is exactly the same except the stickers are actually sticky, you've got to get some cling stamps. They are so nice. You can see because you've got your sticker on there, and it actually sticks super well to your clear blocks, and it's just amazing. I always practice, just in case I've got it turned the wrong way. And what's really cool, side note, you can take the extras that the stickers were on and cut shapes out of it and turn your cling stamps, or your clear mount, I mean, put the sticker on that's not very sticky, and then cut a little extra patch of your cling. It's still clingy under there, and put it onto your clear mounts and turn your clear mounts into cling. I saw this on another demonstrator's video and I thought, how wonderful, because it's really nice to use the stickers, but you also want it to stick to your block. So if you have some clear mounts, you can turn them into cling. Really like that. Oh, I've got a little smudge there. Sometimes I don't want to turn it over because you've got your rough end of the paper and that sticks out to me more than a little smudge. So I'm going to keep it like this even though I've got that tiny little smudge. Maybe I'll change up how I do my bling and I'll just, yep, I'll just cover that one part up. I know, I'll do it on the diagonals. I'll put a little rhinestone here and a little rhinestone there rather than centering it. Maybe that will work. We'll see. Line this up on a grid line, pick this up, no more smudges, and then this will be having a border all around, So slow myself down. Okay. And then we've already got these 2 punched. Make sure you've punched these. It really is, you cannot get a punch through 4 layers. I don't mean to overemphasize this, but I know how easy it is to hear something and know it and then go ahead and do the opposite anyways. So you can do snail on all of this. And then you want to have it centered around here. It will line up with the white and be kind of centered over your punch there. I'm going to use my finger as a guide. That looks pretty good. Oh, I love when it all comes together and all these fun layers. I love card making. Okay, so we turn this over. Here's my 1-inch. I'm about 24 weeks pregnant with my 3rd child, so just saying that I love card making makes me want to tear up. I am so emotional. Okay, so then I've got, oh, what lovely clean edges when you don't punch too many at once. I will briefly show you the first one I did that I had forgotten, and it is a little bit rough. Oh, here it is. You can see maybe on here I had to cut, and it's kind of some rough, jagged edges, just not nearly as nice and smooth as when you, take the time and punch the 2 layers and then punch the 2 layers. So really remember to punch every 2 layers. I have so many of these cards everywhere. Okay, so what a beautiful front. Now we have to turn it back over and we are going to do our insides, and with your sliding part over here still at your left. It's funny, I'm 31 almost and I still have to stop and double check before I say left and right. If I go too fast, I don't think straight. Okay, so we're doing our layers now for the 2 sliding parts, here and here. So we're going to take one and set it aside so we don't go crazy and adhere it all together. We have to stop and put the ribbon on one, but on one set you can put it all together. So we're going to go ahead, and if you wanted to stamp on here, I would stamp first before you adhere it. I didn't think I wanted to do any stamping. I wanted to leave it blank so the ladies could write their own messages. One of my ladies was really smart or creative, and she made hers, and I dropped something, in pineapple punch, but because it's such a light color, she stamped the greeting in the Call Me Clover, and then she used some of the gingham sequins. There's flower ones in here. So, sorry, I always do this, raise my voice up. I hope I haven't been doing that this whole time. She had her happy birthday, and then she did some flower ones, and so then she used this in here, the Today Blooms, where is it? Birthday cheers all around on the one side, and then the Today Blooms just for you on the other. So you could really do some cool stuff and stamp with more of this perennial birthday set on the sides. But there were yellow or green ones that matched her card, and I don't know if I have any. The green ones could work. I'll keep the video shorter though. I won't do extra stamping and stuff, but if you wanted to, you could use the different color green and kind of mix up the greens a little bit and then do the Today Blooms Just For You stamps on there. But I'm just going to stick with the one. Yeah, I don't actually need that. Okay, so I'm not doing stamping. I'm just going to go ahead and put this on here. So many possibilities you can do with this double slider card. And this is a little bit of a wider border. I think it's a whole 1/4 inch all around. I wanted to show more of the DSP. Pretty good. And then this could look cool with the stripy ones too, I guess. You could switch it up. I just like the dots. Okay, and then regular 1/8 inch border on this one. Is that right? Yeah, it's pretty close. Okay, we're just gonna leave it. It's a tad bit, tiny bit, but really it's really close. Okay, now on the other one, I'm gonna set when I have to make sure I don't make a mistake, I just put it out of my reach, kind of, and I'm gonna adhere the small white piece to the DSP. Let's line it up. Okay, so there's that. Now we'll put that away and take out your large white piece and then the tear and tape. And you can do as little or as much of this as you want. We did 3. I copied from, I don't know this lady, but I'm talking like I do. Terry Pocock from the UK. She probably did like 4. She did a lot, but I'm gonna just do 3. And because this is going to be your no, it's gonna go like this. You're gonna put this over top. You're gonna have a white border, so you want to make sure that you don't put your tear and tape too close to the edge. You want to leave like a quarter or a little bit less of a gap so that you don't have any of your adhesive showing where you really want to have a border. So just take care for that. And you don't have to have it going across the whole thing because we're just going to be looping our ribbon on here. So it doesn't have, this isn't really for adhering the card base to anything. You're just going to be doing the ribbon to the base. So then pull these off, and you could have measured your whoopsies, your 4.5 inches of ribbon already. And again, that's a little bit of wiggle room. You just want to have enough to work with and not worry about running out, but it's a little bit generous. So I'm going to measure my 4.5 here. Oh, I'll just do it where you can see. Okay, so then 4.5 coming up from the bottom. So then if you want to get real precise, you can kind of put it down here and do some counting, or you can just eyeball it, just making sure that when you put it down it will stick out of the hole. So I'm going to just bring it down. I know it's going to be off camera, but you could probably figure it out. You're just going to line it up. It's just over 3 inches, so I'm going to go to 1.5 and then just a smidge over, and that'll be pretty centered. You can do your finger measuring again at the end. I think I'll try that. So I kind of have it centered. I'll do 2 fingers and 2 fingers. That's pretty close. That's pretty close. Okay, so then you really don't have to. I realized when I was doing this, you're going to put more snail on here, but in Tara's video, she put more tear and tape over the top, but you don't super have to. I guess maybe just to put adhesive on top of the ribbon to make sure that that sticks, but you really wouldn't have to. And where's my tear and tape? I lost it, so we're just gonna, oh, it's right here. So we'll do 1 or 2. Just to really secure that ribbon, but you are going to be covering it up with a piece of paper that will be secured to your card, so this is maybe overkill to put tear and tape on top. I'm so proud of myself too. When I was doing my class or my team meeting, I kept switching up tear and tape and snail, but I think I've been doing a good job of calling them by the right names. Okay, and then snail along the, oh no, wrong one. You always want to do it on the one that's going down, not on the bottom, else you could have extra that won't get covered up. I think I'm going to be good though.